Hi everybody, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Welcome back to our vegetable garden, this time in Spokane, Washington, where the hardiness zone ranges from 5B to 6A. Don't you just love harvest time? This is such a beautiful time of year. Our temperatures are starting to drop a bit. We don't have any frost in the forecast, so that's okay. But it's definitely time to start harvesting the last of your crops. So today I want to talk about when and how to harvest winter squash and pumpkins. And I'm going to share a tip that I learned many years ago so that they will keep for quite a long time in storage. When it comes to pumpkins, I'm not growing very many this year. This is New England pie pumpkin, and ooh, do they make a great pie. So I have just a few of these. And then I also grew some small ornamental ones to decorate our front porch with mostly, and indoors. And then I'm growing a few different types of winter squash. So I want to show you those real quickly. I'm growing two different varieties of winter squash. And what you're looking at here is Burpee's Butterbush Butternut Squash. That is a shorter season butternut squash that is just delicious. And the other winter squash I'm growing is Autumn Frost. We have grown this one for a few years now, and we are so sold on it because it is fabulous when you roast it in the oven. So how do you know when to harvest a winter squash or pumpkin? The first thing you need to look at is the appearance and color of it. This is an Autumn Frost winter squash. This is not a mature color. It's green. I'm sure it developed later in the season, and it's highly unlikely that these will be ripe by the end of this growing season. However, the good news is that I can use it for some decor, so that's better than nothing, right? Now this one is the right color for an Autumn Frost winter squash. And if you're growing a winter squash or a pumpkin variety that you've never grown before, refer back to the seed catalog or the seed packet to see a picture of what the mature squash or pumpkin is supposed to look like. That is a great way to start. The other thing I like to do is to look at the color of the stem where the squash is attached to the vine. You see how this is kind of a golden color. That's a very good sign. This one is still a little bit on the green side, so I'm not 100% sure that one is ready to be snipped off the vine. So how do you know it's time to cut a squash or a pumpkin off of the vine? You do the thumbnail test, and that involves pressing your thumbnail into the skin as hard as you can. And if it easily cuts through the skin, that means it is not ripe enough. You're just going to leave it alone and let it keep growing on the vine. But if it doesn't cut through the skin, that means it's time to harvest it. Whenever you cut a winter squash or pumpkin off the vine, always leave at least an inch of stem intact. And I like to leave a little bit longer. If you accidentally or on purpose knock off the stem, that opens up the area beneath it to rotting, and you certainly don't want that because you want them to keep a long time in storage. Now, once you have harvested all of your winter squash and or pumpkins, there is one more step that you need to know about, and it is a game changer. As a matter of fact, I would never skip it. So you want to put them through what's called the 2-week curing process. What does that mean? You want to put them somewhere that is light, warm, and protected from the weather. So for me, I'm using our little greenhouse. Maybe you have a sunny porch that you could use. But what happens from that 2-week curing process is that the skin thickens more, and that means they'll keep a very long time in storage. Now this is an Autumn Frost winter squash, and last year I had some that made it through the entire winter, still intact and good to cook. So I think that's pretty amazing. Okay, last but not least, where should you store your winter squash and pumpkins? We like to use our basement because it is cool and dark. It probably gets down to about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, but really no lower than that, so that is ideal. You could store them in your garage if it is cool and dark, and that would be great. But if it's starting to get really cold out there, I would recommend moving them indoors to somewhere dark. And another idea is to put them on the floor of a closet so that you can close the door and keep them in the dark. I hope you had an abundant harvest in your garden this year, and I hope that this video was helpful. I need to go get the rest of my pumpkins and squash, but thanks so much for watching today, everybody. Happy gardening!